Hello everyone. My name is Hadeer Dahab, and I'm really happy to be here with you today and to be the moderator of this session. So today we will talk about best practices in WASH for deliberated areas, and we have 5 lovely speakers with us. So let me start first with introducing myself. My name is Hadeer Dahab, and I'm a community architect who is working in an NGO, an Egyptian NGO called Megawra. And we have been working in different fields related to housing, heritage education, community development, and urban development. And since today's session will be about WASH, let us start with talking about WASH's meaning, safe drinking water, sanitization, and hygiene are crucial for human being and health and well-being. And safe WASH is not a prerequisite for health, but a contribution to livelihoods. So targeting inclusive and sustainable WASH services towards the most marginalized community is crucial to achieve the SDG goals and ensure people fundamental rights. This session aims to raise the question as well as discussing existing technology solutions and practices. The focus on inclusive access to WASH services while taking into consideration the local context, need, and resources. So let me start with a short bios for our guest speakers today. First, we have Mr. Sherif Samir. Sherif has been serving poor people with Habitat Egypt for 17 years ago in housing, microfinance sector for building and improving houses. He took charge of building and improving house. He took charge of managing and coordinating the program and the relation with partners from civil society organization and NGO. He worked closely with representatives of communities and grassroots. Sherif, in 2020, Sherif has establishing and developing a microloans program to solve water and sanitation problems in order to reach and contribute to solving one of the most important causes of housing problem in rural areas, to empower the poorest families and provide and make available the provision of water and sanitation facilities for their homes, working in comprehensive development and enterprise microfinance sector since 1997. We also have Mr. Mina Mukbil. Mina is an architect and urban planner. He is the former head of the local housing movement program in the Better Life of Association for Comprehensive Development. With more than 15 years of experience in leading housing and urban development program in many national and international organizations, he could participate in enriching the built environment by improving more than 7,500 houses for lower income inhabitants and enhancing the quality of infrastructure for more than 25 low-income communities in Upper Egypt. Mina is an MSc holder after completing a master's degree in building and urban design and development from University College London, UCL. We also had Mr. Jawad Dukhgan. Please excuse my if I'm not pronounced it very well. Jawad is an architect and researcher and curator based in Amman. In recent years, he has developed and led research initiatives and public programs on architecture and urbanism in the Arab region for Columbia University, GASP's Studio X Amman, focusing on urban planning and urban design in the region, Currently, Jawad holds the position of the National Project Manager for the Climate Change Project at the UN Habitat Jordan. Our first speaker today is Mr. Frank Nen. Frank is currently working for VGN International as project team leader on improving sustainability in the wash sector in Upper Egypt. His experience in the governance and local development, citizens, engagement in the implementation of the local development and cooperation process between the local and central government on the local development tasks. Franks worked for 25 years in the Netherlands for the Ministry of Finance, Social Affairs, and International Affairs. Since 2007, he works as independent expert and he has worked with Organization for Security and Cooperation in Europe, UNDP, UNICEF, Asian Development Bank, and EU in the former Soviet republics, Asia, and Africa. Frank considered it very important to understand the local social and cultural environment of the country, of the region he is working in. He feels that achieving sustainable results is the best served when an understanding of the local environment is combined with the best practice customized to the local circumstances. And since 2020, Frank and his family is living in Cairo. Last but not least, we have Elena Dea. Elena is a former banking sector professional with a passion for development and innovation to boost financial inclusion for the less fortunate. Based in Dakar, Senegal, she managed partnership with European funders aiming to have an impact in Africa through online incubation program for social enterprise bridge for babies. So please welcome our dear panelists and speakers. And I will leave the floor for our first speaker, Dr. Sherif Samir.
Shukran, Hadeer. Let me share my screen. منظمة هابيتات فور هيومانيتي مصر مشروع الوش. تعتبر منظمة هابيتات فور هيومانيتي مصر واحدة من 4 منظمات دولية العاملة في مجال الوش في مصر، ونقصد بالوش المياه والصرف الصحي والنظافة والصحة العامة. تنفرد منظمة هابيتات فور هيومانيتي مصر بأنها أول من أنشأ وصمم مشروع لحل مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي من خلال برنامج قروض دوارة متناهية الصرف في المجتمعات المنخفضة الدخل والمهمشة. شركاء هابيتات فور هيومانيتي مصر في المشروع الهيئة القبطية الإنجليزية للخدمات الاجتماعية سيوس، والجمعية الإنجليزية للتنمية المتواصلة EAS. كان الهدف من المشروع هو المساهمة في حل أحد أسباب مشاكل السكن في مصر المتعلقة بمشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي والصحة العامة في المجتمعات المستهدفة. مكونات المشروع: المكون الأولاني هو أفراد متناهي الصغر لحل مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي. المكون الثاني حشد وتعبئة المجتمعات المستهدفة بقضايا ومشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي. المكون الثالث هو بناء القدرات ورفع مهارة الشركاء والفاعلين في المجتمعات المستهدفة. المكون الرابع بغرض رفع الوعي وتحسين أوضاع وظروف الصحة العامة والنظافة. المكون الخامس هو الحد من مخاطر الكوارث والاستجابة لها. المكون السادس توفير خدمات دعم الأوش. والمكون السابع تشجيع ودعم النهج التشاركي لحل مشاكل المياه والصرف. قروض ووش متناهية الصغر بتتم من خلال توفير رأس مال لقروض المياه والصرف الصحي اللي بيتم توزيعه على المستهدفين من خلال شركاء من الهيئات والجمعيات المحلية لتسهيل إمكانية وصول تلك المجتمعات منخفضة الدخل على تمويل قروض متناهية الصغر للمساهمة في توصيل وتطوير وتحسين خدمات ومرافق المياه والصرف الصحي للأسر المحتاجة. بالنسبة لتدخلات مكون الإقراض فبتشمل وصلات مياه نقية، عدادات مياه، فلاتر مياه، سخانات مياه طاقة شمسية، وصلات صرف صحي سواء لنظام صرف صحي محسن أو الأساسي الموجود في القرى، إنشاء خزان صرف أرضي اللي بيسمى ترانش، سواء ترانش جديد أو ترميم وتشطيب، وإصلاح ترانش قائم. كمان إنشاء المكون السابع أو التدخل السابع هو إنشاء دورات مياه جديدة وتحسين وتشطيب وإصلاح دورات مياه قائمة كاملة، شرط وجود باب وسقف لدورات المياه. كمان في إمكانية للتدخل في هدم وبناء دورات مياه جديدة. في ظل بعض مشاكل المياه ان المياه ما بتوصلش للادوار العليا، ففي امكانيه ان هو يحصل على قرض من اجل توفير مواتير لرفع المياه للادوار العليا. كمان بناء وتشطيب مطبخ صحي. المكون الثاني من مكون الووش هو حشد وتعبئه المجتمعات للمشاركه في حل قضايا ومشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي في المجتمعات المستهدفه. ده بيتم عن طريق ان هو بيتم توضيح والتعريف بانواع المشاكل المتعلقه بقضايا الووش واسبابها، وتشجيع الكوادر والقيادات الطبيعيه في تلك المجتمعات للتواصل مع الجهات الرسميه. كمان بيتم تشكيل لجان مجتمعيه من قيادات وكوادر مجتمعيه وممثلي تلك المجتمعات لضمان تبنيهم للقضيه الخاصه بمشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي. شاركنا الجهات الرسميه والمعنيين من الحكومه بتلك المشاكل لضمان تيسير الاجراءات والتنفيذ بفعاليه. مكون بناء القدرات بيكون شامل على جزئيتين: بناء قدرات اللجان المجتمعيه اللي هم بتبقى الدراع اليمين للمشروع من حيث التعرف على مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي، مفاهيم التطوع، دراسه الاحتياجات، والبت بطلبات القروض في المجتمعات المستهدفه. كمان بيتم اختيار وتشكيل مجموعه من الزائرات الصحيات ويتم بناء قدراتهم على كيفيه قياده جلسات التوعيه الصحيه ورفع الوعي من خلال الزيارات المنزليه. كذلك تم بناء قدراتهم على كيفية استخدام دليل توعوي صحي لمشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي والنظافة العامة والصحة والوقاية، وخاصة بعد ظهور جائحة كورونا، وكان ذلك بغرض الحد من مخاطر الأمراض والوقاية منها، والحد من مخاطر تلوث المياه والهدر في استخدام المياه. كون رفع الوعي وتحسين أوضاع وظروف الصحة العامة، وده تم عن طريق تصميم وتطوير دليل توعوي صحي لمشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي، كذلك النظافة العامة، وتم إضافة له مكون خاصة بالصحة والوقاية من الأمراض وخاصة كورونا. بيتم نشر مفاهيم برنامج الووش على اللجان المجتمعية المحلية وهي الشريك الأساسي لبرنامجنا. رفع وعي المجتمعات بأهمية النظافة العامة وتأثيرها على أسرهم من خلال جلسات فيديو توعوية، زيارات منزلية للأسر المستهدفة، حملات توعية متنقلة، وندوات. كذلك بعد ظهور جائحة كورونا كان المكون الخامس لمشروع الووش بتاعنا هو الحد من مخاطر الكوارث والاستجابة ليها، فتم إضافة التدخل عن طريق توفير أدوات وحماية ووقاية شخصية للأسر المستهدفة للتقليل من مخاطر الإصابة بالأمراض خاصة كورونا ليهم والأطفال. 6. توفير خدمات دعم الووش، وده بيتم من خلال مجموعة من المعايير القياسية الإنشائية لجودة مدخلات المياه والصرف الصحي في المسكن الملائم، اللي بيشرف عليها تدريب مباشر مجموعة من المهندسين مجتمعات هابيتات. وبناء قدرات ورفع كفاءة ومهارات أعضاء اللجنة الفنية المحلية بشأن نهج خدمات دعم المياه والصرف الصحي، وكيفية استلام بنود الأعمال ومدخلات الووش لتحسين معايير الجودة وضمان استمرارية استخدام تلك المعايير. المكون السابع وهو تشجيع ودعم النهج التشاركي لحل مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي، بحيث تتبنى المجتمعات مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي في المجتمعات المستهدفة، وبترتكز على رصد وتحليل المشكلات المتعلقة بالمياه والصرف الصحي في مجتمعاتهم، تحديد أسباب وتأثير هذه المشاكل على مجتمعات العمل، طرح حلول واقعية لإحدى هذه المشكلات، تصميم تدخل يراعي البعد الاجتماعي بحيث يخدم عدد كبير من أفراد المجتمع ولا يقتصر على نطاق الأسر أو المنازل الشخصية والفردية فقط. كذلك تصميم وتطوير آليات لتحديد المشكلات المجتمعية المتعلقة بالمياه والصرف الصحي. كذلك وضع تصور كيفية حشد المجتمعات للمشاركة بتلك المبادرات. وأخيرا العمل على مشاركة الجهات الرسمية والمعنية أثناء التنفيذ. الخبرات السابقة في تنفيذ مشروع الووش، قامت منظمة هابيتات فور هيومانيتي بإجراء مشروع تجريبي مع نفس الشريك العام الماضي. كذلك تمتلك لبناء قدرات الرائدات الصحيات، وطورت منظمة هابيتات دليلا حول المياه والصرف الصحي والنظافة الصحية للأسر. كذلك تم مشاركة السلطات المحلية في أنشطة المياه والصرف الصحي والصحة العامة. التحديات اللي بتقابلنا هو نقص في عدد الشركاء من ذوي الخبرة لتنفيذ أنشطة المياه والصرف الصحي والنظافة العامة في المجتمعات المستهدفة. نقص في عدد العاملات الصحيات، وكذلك ليس في حين توفرهم ليس لديهم المهارات لزيادة الوعي بالكورونا والصحة العامة. كذلك نقص في تشكيل وعدد اللجان المجتمعية والتي لديها الخبرات في مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي، والتي ممكن أن تحمل على عاتقها نقل تلك المشاكل إلى مجتمعاتها والجهات المعنية. فرص متاحة مشروع بوش، إمكانية التوسع وزيادة التدخلات المرتكزة على احتياجات مجتمعية من خلال عروض متناهية الصغر لحل مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي. كذلك وجود مدخلات في المدارس. كذلك هناك توجه رسمي نحو محاولة إيجاد حلول بديلة لمخاطر الأمن المائي وتقليل التلوث. الخطة المستقبلية اللي هتعمل عليها منظمة هابيتات فور هيومانيتي مصر وصولا لتعظيم التأثير، هيتم تبني ونشر مبادرات وأفكار غير تقليدية ذات تقنية حديثة ومنخفضة التكاليف لحل مشاكل المياه والصرف الصحي. سوف يتجه منظمة هابيتات مصر إلى معالجة مرافق المياه والصرف الصحي والصحة العامة في المدارس، ودعم المبادرات المتعلقة بالتكيف مع التغيرات المناخية. نقل وتبادل الخبرات من ذوي الخبرة السابقة مع الآخرين. الاستمرار في بناء قدرات لجان مجتمعية على قضايا الووش. كذلك الاستمرار في بناء قدرات المزيد من العاملات أو الرائدات الصحية. شكرا.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sherif, for an interesting presentation about the Habitats for Humanity Egypt works and different projects and strategy related to WASH. And now we will leave the floor for Mr. Mina to talk more about case studies or practical solutions that have been done in Egypt related to WASH. The floor is yours, Mr. Mina.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction and for having me with you in this wonderful forum. I'll go through the presentation. I'll just need to share the presentation to stick to the time. Okay, I hope now. Okay. So my presentation as a journey in Upper Egypt and in one of the most marginalized communities in Upper Egypt called Mina. In Mina, we have Better Life Association for Comprehensive Development plugged. We are a non-governmental and non-for-profit organization established in 1995 in one of the most marginalized communities in Upper Egypt. Our vision is the community free of poverty, illiteracy, and unemployment for a better life. And our mission to improve the quality of life for these communities through empowering them. And through empowering them is the most important issue and the most important component we are focusing on in our work. Let's have a small brief about Mina. Mina is 250 kilometers south of Cairo. We are in the 4th place in the population below national poverty in line with 54.7% according to Human Development Report 2021, and the second highest rural population in Egypt by more than 80% of the total population of Mina. according to the CAPMAS 2020. To go for the context of our program, the houses in the villages we are working in inadequate. Large number of the households are without potable water and health latrines, which is very main issue in these villages. Women exclusion is another layer and another dimension of our projects. The women inclusion and the gender challenges in our communities in Upper Egypt, and also the lack of awareness in many different aspects in housing and other aspects. So we came with local housing movement program. Local housing movement program established in 1997 with Better Life Association in cooperation with the other partners and stakeholders, and I'll come through this slide after that. Better Life established an innovative microfinance mechanism to support the work of local housing movement program. We took the standards of adequate housing from the right-based perspective. So we are working in this project not as a service, not as an optional thing to give to the community, but it's a right, and it's a right-based approach. So we were working in, as we listened to the other sessions in the forum, we cannot take WASH as one component to apply. We have the comprehensive and integrated approach. So we are taking WASH within the housing issues, security tenors, awareness campaigns, and public measures, implementing public measures, and I come through these measures after a while. Our partners in the our local partners in the communities, the main issue is the local lower income communities, and specifically that we are working with the quarry workers, fishermen, female-headed households, and small farmers in the communities. Our key features of the project is the participatory and leaving one behind approach. We mainly work with people, with the community, with the leaders from the communities in designing, implementing, and managing and evaluating the project. So the participatory approach is the main concept in our work, and the use of integrated development approach to improve the houses and infrastructure conditions. We also use the climate-friendly solutions in building the houses, in implementing the sanitation projects and septic tanks. In that regard, we designed 2 manuals for the community. The first one is regarding the standards of building, the proper standards in building, especially in the rural areas, and how to use the local materials we have in our communities and in our villages to build with it and to treat it to be suitable for building. The other manual is about design criteria and design standards for the rural areas, and how to make that our house through the design is proper and suitable for living. We are promoting the social solidarity through encouraging and promoting the social solidarity and helping the neighbors helping each other in building and so on, which has an effect on the cost and on the social aspects of the project. The continuous revolving fund, so we established a revolving fund in the project, so it ensures the sustainability of the financial sustainability of the project as well. As I mentioned, we are using climate-friendly solutions, but here we are also we're pioneer in approving, or sorry, in providing the renewable energy methods in rural areas for the first time in rural areas in Mina to have this renewable energy like solar panels and solar heaters in their houses. All of that we are using the raising the awareness for the local communities, how to know the rights, how to ask for their rights in a proper way and in a decent way. How we are covering the costs? We're covering the costs through different stakeholders and partners, international partners like Oxfam, Novib, Habitat for Humanity, Miserior, and HfHE Hermes, and it was the first time to have the private sector and a kind of participation of the private sector and in providing and funding this type of projects, Tel Aviv and the actors involved in the project, the community, the main actor in the project, a network of local community-based organizations. So we included a large network of CBOs in the designing, planning, and implementation of the project. The volunteer local leaders, as I mentioned before, and strong network of national and international organizations. And the issue here that we connected the local network with this international network, so they could present their projects and their problems in a proper way on the national and international level. Here, I'll not go through all these points, but just to mention that we ensure the social sustainability, financial sustainability, and environmental sustainability through applying a comprehensive involvement and participation approach, upgrading the construction in situ, upgrading construction. We ensure the gender integration and package of trainings to the local leaders to manage and implement the project by their own. For the financial sustainability, we build a relationship with different funding organizations. We could ensure the funding opportunities for better life for this project, and also for a lot of CPOs in the communities to ensure the sustainability of the project in their local communities. We provided training and employing the community members to ensure the economy or to promote the local economy in their communities. We also encourage a mutual self-help approach in the communities. Environmental sustainability, we the access to the potable water itself is a kind of environmental sustainability, using environmental local materials from the community, and also environmental sort of septic tanks we implemented to ensure that the septic tanks or the sewage network will not be mixed with the underground water. It was one of the pioneer ideas to prevent the mixture of underground water with sewage water. The results very fast that we rehabilitated and reconstructed more than 2,500 houses. And when I'm saying 2,500 houses, it's not the same number of families, because it's more than, because we have like a lot of houses that contains more than a family, so it's more than 2,500 families. We provide potable water and health latrines to more than 7,500 families. We build, as we said, we are using a kind of integration and integrated approach in our work. So we built 50 public schools using environmental local materials, and we trained the building workers in the site how to use these local materials and how to build their houses and their buildings using these local materials. We established a lot of CDOs in the communities for the first time to be established, managed, and operated by female. Very quick, our lessons learned. The lower income communities are able to plan, implement their houses. The infrastructure in rural areas is not an option; it's mandatory to maintain human dignity, peace, and security. People also are able to adopt climate-friendly materials in their communities, and they have the experience, they have the knowledge how to use it. They need to be to build their capacity in how to use it in a proper way. Our recognitions and our awards throughout the projects, we could get two awards. The first one from the Dubai International Award for best practices for our work in comprehensive development in developing the eastern bank of the Nile in Mina, Upper Egypt, and improving the quality of life for the community. And the second one is the World Habitat Award, which is for the first time to be given in one of the Egyptian organizations in 2010. And this award was given annually to two organizations all over the world. The first one from what we can say Global North, and the second one is from Global South, for our innovative solutions to improve the quality of life and improve the housing conditions and built environment. So very quickly, the local housing movement program, working with improving the residences, clean water and sanitation connections, public utilities, financing services, legal support, awareness campaigns and training. And of course, we are working in the frame of a lot of SDGs. The main SDG is the sustainable cities and communities, of course, and clean water. But we also touching and tackling the gender equality, equality of education, and also partnerships for the goals. I leave you with these quotes from our communities and also from our visitors for the projects. They're saying the impact of the project on themselves and the observations of our national and international visitors to the project, how they saw the villages and how they saw the communities after implementing and having the project implemented in their communities. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mina, very much for this promising and interesting case studies in Upper Egypt. It is very exciting to see different project and that has been implemented already and what's happening in Egypt. And on a regional context, I would like to welcome Mr. Jawad, who will talk with us about the Adaptation Fund project being developed in Jordan and the trailer to be better respond to the climate impacts and vulnerabilities in the context of Syrian crisis in Jordan. Mr. Jawad, are you here? Yeah.
Yes. Can you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, thank you for kind of steering this conversation, and thank you for the organizers for inviting me, and for the fellow panelists to kind of sharing this wealth of information. Can you still see my screen? Because it mentions that my...
Yeah, we can see it.
It's paused. You can see it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, you can see it, right? Okay. So the overall aim of this presentation is to share with the audience how the Adaptation Fund project, the project that I'm going to discuss, is being developed in Jordan, is tailored to better respond to climate change impacts and vulnerabilities in the context of Syrian crisis, like you mentioned. This is done by demonstrating what concrete adaptation measures respond to the needs of both displaced people and host communities, especially women and youth, while avoiding any tension over resources and employment opportunities. The overall of the project also, it focuses on responding to climate change related water challenges. This is done by taking a sustainable water management approach. This means it aims to reduce the demand of use of unsustainable water sources, such as over-extracting groundwater, while increasing the water supply options from non-conventional and more sustainable sources like rainwater harvesting systems, and also the reuse of treated wastewater. So basically, the project, the short title of the project is Resilient Water Solutions Against Climate Change in Jordan.
I'm sorry, Jawad, if I'm interrupting. If you are flipping the slides, we can
now
see.
I'm flipping.
Yeah.
No,
That's okay.
Yeah. So basically, the presentation, the project is titled Resilient Water Solutions Against Climate Change in Jordan and Lebanon, because this project is being developed in Jordan and Lebanon. I'm going to speak about the Jordan part. As you can see, it's funded by the Adaptation Fund project and working with ministries and with UNESCO and UN Habitat. So the main project overview is basically the project duration is 4 years. The first year has passed. What we've been doing is with kind of mobilizing everyone from the executing entities, from the stakeholders to kind of agree on the project not in terms of signing documents, but rather kind of all of us together and develop the content of the project and make sure that we involve everyone. Implementing entity, as you all know, is UN Habitat Jordan. And there are, what we have is 4 components to the project. The first component and the fourth are quite connected together, and the second and third are also connected. The first component is managing urban risks and vulnerability in the context of climate change, especially water scarcity challenges and urban growth. Meaning what we're going to do is we are going to develop 2 climate resilient urban master plans in both the areas we're investigating, and the target areas are in the north of Jordan, which is closer to the border of Syria. There are 2 municipalities in specific, municipality of Irbid and municipality of Masrag. The component 2 and component 3, they're connected. Why? Because component 2 is what we refer to as a soft component, and component 3 is the hard component. So the soft component is improving awareness over ownership, and capacities to respond to climate change. And this is coupled by component 3, which is expanding the unconventional water harvesting and supply options. I'm going to walk you through the component 3 later on, but in a nutshell, the hard interventions that we're going to develop are rainwater harvesting systems, greywater systems, upgrading wastewater treatment plants, and providing new irrigation systems for developing new irrigation systems with farmers, and also developing a permaculture demonstration site at an educational facility. So hence component 2 is how can we build capacities and improve awareness of those systems that are hopefully we are in the near future going to start installing. And last but not least, component 4, which is the project knowledge management and replication, including the development of regional urban risks and vulnerabilities. This would include developing urban observatories. We are going to develop 2 urban observatories, one in each municipality. And later on, maybe in the questions, I'll mention how it was important developing a great relationship with the municipalities and the Ministry of Local Administration and the executing entities and the local people. So the project components overview. So roughly, as I mentioned, the rooftop rainwater harvesting systems, we're going to install around 70 to 80 rainwater harvesting systems, but we're going to install them on mosques, municipal buildings, public schools, and residential buildings. So the reason is why we're doing that, because we're choosing different typologies of buildings that can be found in different urbanized areas. So wherever you have urbanization, you have a better rooftop rainwater harvesting systems. So the idea was not just only to collect as much as possible water, which I'm pretty sure 70 to 80 rainwater harvesting system will not solve the national problem of climate change, but rather also develop more data and indicators on how can we replicate it and upscale it. So hence we are constantly working, and we are in the discussion with other entities working on the same sector, and how can we introduce and expand such methodologies of collection. Greywater treatments and reuse in Jordan, also this component between component 2 and 3, we're going to install also 40 greywater systems in mosques and public schools. And again, why this was chosen? Because this is something that we're hoping to replicate not just in the municipalities that we're choosing, but also to work with the municipalities in general and the Ministry of Local Administration and the planning departments, and how can we install this into the policies and how we can include it not just in those municipalities. Upgrading the wastewater treatment plants. So we are working with 3 wastewater treatment plants run by a national company, water company, that is owned by the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, actually. So we're working on upgrading them. So hence this would increase the production of treated wastewater and the quality also of it, which will be linked to the water use efficient irrigation of treated wastewater. And by doing so, we are going to do both awareness and raising capacity to building, operate and maintain such water efficient irrigation system, and building the capacity of farm workers and developing also an association with all of that. We have also the permaculture demonstration site, which is we already signed MOUs and agreements with executing entities and education institution in Jordan, who is going to host the demonstration site. The idea behind having it being nested within an educational institution is because part of the program is we are going to infiltrate the education curriculum of education institutions. So whatever is being developed at the demonstration site, it will find its way to the agriculture department of this university that we're working with. It's called Jarash University in the north of Jordan, and we're hoping that we're going to expand this to other universities. And of course, the workshop will not only, and the trainings will not only include the students, but also nearby community. Last but not least, I'm going to talk about the climate resilient urban master plans and setting up the 2 urban observatories, which are components 1 and 4. So in a nutshell, what we're going to do between component 1 and 4 is develop the climate adaptation planning and strategy guidelines at the LIWA level. LIWA is the district, so it's bigger than a municipality, for both Irbid and Mafraq municipalities with climate change and gender mainstreaming. We're going to strengthen the assessment and planning capacities of the 2 municipalities through development of climate resilient urban master plans at a municipal level with climate change and gender mainstreaming. So now we're dealing with different municipalities with different capacities. So on one hand, we have a municipality that has kind of a more modest team. On the other hand, another municipality is quite kind of a more advanced. So all the trainings and all our involvement will be tailored to each municipality alone and each site alone. So this also comes with its own challenges from a managerial perspective and monitoring evaluation, which maybe we can later talk about. Last but not least, we're going to establish an urban observatory following the 2020 UN Habitats Guide to setting up an urban observatory. An urban observatory, this is the definition of the UN Habitat Guideline. It's an urban observatory is a local network of stakeholders responsible for producing, analyzing, and disseminating data on a meaningful set of indicators that reflect collectively prioritized issues on sustainable development in each area of country. So the way it goes is we have those data sets we collected. And so first of all, what the municipality will understand is data collection practices, what it is, what are the indicators, what we're looking at. And then we compile this data and we start with the analysis phase. But the analysis phase is not just about giving statistics, but how can it be spatial? So spatial analysis would inform better planning policies and understanding. For example, in the case of there's a risk flood assessment that took place, we would understand in specific areas, geographical areas, the planning policies should be kind of adjusted. So hence, this is something that we're trying to do rather than saying the extent of the project is that we're building X, we're building Y. No, building the capacity and replicating it in different geographical locations is one aim of this project. And this is how the UN Habitat works. So we work within the built environment of understanding of how to infiltrate such environment, understand it and learn from it, but also, I don't want to say upgrade it, but improve our knowledge of what is going on of the already existing infrastructure and how can we collectively kind of develop new frameworks, identify the frameworks that we're working on, develop new guidelines that we are learning from in the process, and also we kind of sharing this learning knowledge with the municipalities and governments and everyone who's interested. The sustainability measures for this project, again, it goes with training activities to beneficial institutions, communities, involvement of students, seeking complementarities with other agencies. As I mentioned at the beginning, we're already kind of conducting meetings with other agencies who are developing something parallel to us. So we always think of how can we push this forward, and seeking additional funding for expanding projects and promoting replication. This is it. Sorry, maybe I took more than 5 minutes for sure.
It's okay. Thank you again for sharing this very interesting project, and I hope to know more about it once you finish it after 2 years. But it looks very promising. So now I will leave the floor to Mr. Frank Nan to share his talk about VNG International project, improving sustainability in the wash sector in Upper Egypt. Yeah.
Okay, I will first see if I can share my screen.
Yeah, okay. While you are sharing, please, our attendees, just a kindly reminder, you can leave all the questions for our panelists in the chat. Just leave it and we will raise this question by the end of this session. So Frank, do you need any help? Yeah, you did it.
I did it, yay. Thank you for the invitation. Great to be here. For us, it is good to be involved in sectors like looking at housing and WASH. I think that is, of course, like a very logical and also interesting combination. Just for everybody's understanding, this project is implemented by VNG International. VNG stands for the Association of Dutch Municipalities, which has an international branch, which is working around the world, and is specialized in local governance. So how do we work on WASH? We work from the local government's view. The project is a 13-month project working in Egypt. We are now left with 24 months after the inception phase. Within this project, we are working with two major projects.
I'm sorry, Frank, there is a request to raise a little bit your voice because some people can't hear you clearly. Okay, maybe you can close the, yes.
This is better?
Yeah, much better.
Excellent. So this project is 30 months after the inception phase. We are now working on the implementation phase. Within this implementation phase, we work together with two national or big projects in Egypt. One is called Decent Life Program, which is the largest national program in Egypt. It's entirely done by the government of Egypt. And next to that, we work with the Upper Egypt Local Development Program, which is a combination of the government of Egypt and the World Bank for a total of $1 billion, split in half between the two responsible entities. And they are working mainly on infrastructure, but also on creating a decentralization of responsibilities. We work in 4 governorates or provinces in Egypt, Minya, Asud, Sohak, and Kina, which are the 4 governorates where a lot of international organizations are working. So it is very good to hear when people are working in the same environment that we try to make these contacts and to see that we are working together rather than in parallel or doing the same things or overlap or missing the point, so to speak. When we look at the project of improving sustainability, we are looking at it from the soft side, so to speak. We do nothing on infrastructure because there are 2 large projects doing that. But we are looking at it from the perspective of accompanying measures. So you invested it. Now, how do you keep those services there where they need to be in terms of quality? We look at it from 2 types of sustainability because there are many. We look at it from the perspective of social sustainability and institutional sustainability. With social sustainability, we mean that we have the processes of understanding the challenges of the communities and groups within those communities, so vulnerable groups, together with service providers, so that they understand the needs and challenges of that community, but also that the community understands the challenges of the service providers. We are not pointing fingers, we are just making sure that the dots are connected so that we are making the best result out of that combination, communities and service providers. On the other hand, we are looking at institutional sustainability, and that is basically making sure that the institutions on local level are able to provide the services and quality that they need to provide. And that comes also with accompanying measures. I will go to the next sheet. Yeah, just to make that a little bit more clearer. We have 2 components on the social sustainability side, which is related to citizen engagement. We work with communities and we do this through what we call community scorecards. On a regular basis, we score the needs and challenges of the communities and groups together with the service providers. So service providers always have the idea that they're doing the best and everything is fine. I'm exaggerating here. Well, customers might have a totally different view on this well-received picture of themselves. So what we're trying to do is put those two groups together and make them understand that that we are not saying that your measures of the service providers are bad. We just make them aware of the customer journey through those measures that service providers have taken to make the needs of the citizens clear. So the one hand is that the complaint system. In Egypt, there is a wide variety of complaint systems. So in this case, the water companies have complaint systems. The governorates have complaint systems. The central level has complaint systems. And only 3 is already enough to confuse citizens and communities what to do, where to go with your complaint. And then once I've filed my complaint, what do I hear about this? So this is also a discussion with the service providers, because the service providers can make, of course, very nice figures by saying, yes, I looked at it and I sent it to the right department, and therefore I closed this complaint as dealt with. But that is not all. So we want to make a social sustainability a real connection, hopefully, between the service providers and the communities to understand each other. And this understanding should lead to the investment plans of the water and sanitation companies on local level, that their investment plans take into account the challenges of and the needs of communities and groups, rather than to just from the central level demand that this is the investment that you're going to do. And within the Upper Egypt Local Development Program and in combination with the World Bank, there is a tendency to give governorates, administration, a lot more influence in the investments by water and sanitation companies. So what we're trying to do is make the needs of the communities clear to the governorate administration, so that they, in their negotiations about the investment plans with the water and sanitation companies, bring this across. And in a couple of these governorates, the governorates will control the money. So the investment planning need to be approved by the governorate before they release the money for the investments. And this sort of gives a better guarantee that the needs of communities are incorporated. This is a model. It's foreseen to be incorporated in all governorates, but it is called decentralization. That might be a big word, but like it's probably like putting the responsibilities there where they're most needed. And on the institutional side, we're looking at enhanced wash service operations. So we are mainly looking at how can the service providers in the day-to-day business operations be more effective and efficient in their service provision. We look at 3 components. We look at energy costs. How can that be more sufficient so that money goes to service provision instead of paying the electricity bill or the energy bill. We look at non-revenue water, because that is water that is pumped in the system but is not coming out of the tap, and that is approximately between 20 and 25%. And that's a lot, it's a high percentage. And then we also look at asset management. What we have seen is that the affiliated companies need a better understanding of the asset management so that the service provision stays high. A very simple example, for instance, they buy new pipes, but they put them in the full sun in storage. This is bad for the PVC. So your pipe that has a duration of 10 years, life expectancy is actually 5 years. So after 5 years, they break. So that is not good for your asset management, because you think that the pipe will last for services of 10 years, but actually they do for 5 years. And then will it cost more money. So we're looking at very practical things with them to improve the business operations. And the last component under institutional sustainability is that we want the water and sanitation companies to talk together on best practices amongst themselves. So how can they learn from themselves so that they don't have to invent the wheel? but can learn from experiences that other water and sanitation companies have, either through international help or through their own experiences. So those are the four components where we are in. We also tend to look a little bit further, and that has to do with the fact that there is a lot of research that shows that the attention to governance is a bit of a blind spot if you look at in the WASH sector. And with governance, we mean that there is it is good to understand the players, the stakeholders in the whole field, and the policies that are in place and the implementation that is ongoing. So to give an example, in my project, I have to deal with the Ministry of Water Resources and Irrigation, the Ministry of Local Development, the Ministry of Housing, the holding company for water, the water and sanitation companies on local level, the Ministry of Water and Irrigation, local offices. So it's just to indicate that there are a lot of players. And this number of players all have their own ideas about how and policies on how this will affect the WASH services. So what we are trying to do is to bring those stakeholders together, to not say that everybody is wrong. It's more or less to make sure that everybody is on the same side in providing those services. And then it is about looking at the broader governor's environment understanding, so that the policies don't bite each other, but also the implementation doesn't bite each other on the local level, but also on the central level. So a lot of the issues on WASH services are related to central levels, or what we call upstream. And that is planning, it's finances, it's fiscal decisions, it's procurement. That is all done on the central level, while on the local level, we have to deal with community engagement, billing, sludge management, operation and management monitoring. These two things need to be brought together in order to make them understand and to close the gap that possibly is there between policies and implementation. And so that the result, the WASH service on the end, is not affected by the amount of players and how these players interact with each other or do not interact with each other, and that in the end affects the WASH services. Although there is a lot of goodwill, that is not the point. So, for instance, there is a practice or an example from Tanzania where the investments in WASH services quadrupled over a period of time. However, the access to WASH services of the communities was still at 51%. Given the amount of time, money that was put into it, that is a disappointing figure. And then also a number of water points, 40% of the water points just collapsed after 2 years. And that is that there needs to be a lot more attention to this governance aspect, to put the players together, to make sure that the end result is having people on the local level having the services. And we are looking into that as an aspect that is considered important. And for instance, also next year's UN Water Week, one of the teams is governance. They decided to put this on the agenda in relation to water and WASH services. So I think it is an issue that we all together can also see. And we are trying to open up that agenda to see if what comes out of it, and to see if we can get some elements that will learn on how we can improve this. That is it for me.
Thank you so much, Frank. Thank you again. And very interesting project. Thanks for sharing it with us. And I'm looking forward again for the results. So finally, we would like to end with a very interesting talk by Elena about an online incubation program for social enterprise, Bridges for Billion. Hi, Elena.
Hello, Hadeer. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Lovely to be among all of you. Thank you so much for your talks. It was very, very interesting.
Thank you.
I'm going to share my screen so you can let me know when you see it properly.
Okay.
Hadeer, just about how much time do we have left? Just so I can budget.
We don't have any time left, but you have 5 minutes, and yani, it's okay. Also, when we feel yani, it's okay. Yani, 5 minutes. If it's from 5 to 7, this will not harm anyone.
Very well. Wait a minute. Let me please see my screen.
Yes. Yeah. You
Okay,
can make
awesome.
a full screen. You can make it full screen if you.
I'm not sure how to do it, so I think we're just going to go ahead like this, if you don't mind. Yes,
okay.
Let's do that. Well, thank you for your time this morning. So my name is Elena Dia, and I work for social enterprise Bridge for Billions. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to introduce Bridge, what we do, what we've been doing for the last 6 years, and then I'm going to talk about a WASH program specifically aimed at women in Africa, which we have been running the past year, and which I think will be an interesting example of a topic relevant to everything everyone has been speaking about today, which is the WASH initiatives. So first of all, Bridge, who are we? We are a social enterprise based in the US with main offices, operational offices in Europe, in Spain. The aim of Bridge really is rather simple, is we would like to democratize support for entrepreneurs, no matter their social background, no matter their geographical situation. We have unfortunately realized in the last 20 odd years that innovation and entrepreneurship are words that are thrown around a lot, and they are very trendy, but unfortunately they don't reflect the reality of the situation. Most entrepreneurs are not based in Silicon Valley. Most entrepreneurs are not wearing black turtlenecks. That's not the reality of things. You know, the economical conjuncture is getting more and more difficult, and therefore many people are left on the side of society, and entrepreneurship for us is the answer to that. Entrepreneurship, innovation-based entrepreneurship, aimed at job creation, aimed at financial empowerment of women, financial empowerment of the elder. Just any underserved community is our target. Sustainability in the programs we run is really the main impact that we would like to have at Bridge with our programs. So how does the ecosystem work? We work with corporates, we work with public entities, we have programs, initiatives that we run with the UN, for example, conjointly in many different countries. And every program has a different target. I will give you an example of the Women in WASH program, which I'm going to talk about, which targets women specifically in sub-Saharan Africa, for example. We have programs which are aimed at African-American women in the US, in Texas, for instance, which we run with Visa, for example. So what we do is we build a program around the target of the partner, and this is how we are able to have this impact. What we do is we have a proprietary technology, which is an incubating tool, which is 100% online. So it makes accessibility a lot easier for the entrepreneurs. And I guess the first question you're going to ask me is, Elena, but if you would like to serve underserved communities, how can you make sure that they have access to the technology? How can you make sure that they have stable internet, that they have at least some sort of, you know, IT literacy to be able to take the program? The first thing we do is we translate the platform into many languages, into languages in which we run. So we currently have about 15 languages for the platform, which is the first thing. And the second thing is a training of trainers model, which we like to apply in most of our programs. How does this work? Is, for example, let's say a foundation tells me that they would like to target young entrepreneurs in agriculture in Cameroon, for example, let's say. What we do is we don't, as an American/European company, have the knowledge to enter Cameroon and know a lot about the entrepreneurial ecosystem. what we do is we look for local incubators, and what we do is we train them. Most of the time we send staff on site. We train them when they reply to all our requirements, and this allows us to have like a three-party kind of agreement between the entrepreneurs, between ourselves and the partner, and between the incubators. So this is a bit how it works. And the stage of entrepreneurship that we focus on, which for us is the most critical, is incubation. So really the stage between ideation and acceleration. We do find that ideation is a bit too early to ideation is a very short stage. So there's not a lot that value added focusing on ideation. And on the contrary, acceleration is the part of entrepreneurship which usually is catered for, let's say. Unfortunately, in many of the countries where we run operations, you have young people, you have women, for example, who have great ideas, but they are just not aware of how to structure their projects. They are not sure of the next steps. When you talk to them about competition, when you talk to them about marketing, when you talk to them about anything, they are not very certain how to formalize their project in order to then get access to financing. Obviously, financing is the main question for every entrepreneur, but in order to be able to stand in front of a banker, to be able to stand in front of a funders, excuse me, you have to be able to show them something concrete, and this is where Bridge for Billions enters, and this is our main expertise on the topic. So this was for the short introduction. I'm now going to talk more specifically about the women project that we run. So this project we have come up with a partner, the Grundfos Foundation, which have the Grundfos Foundation has told us, their main what they wanted to tackle, and this is how we came up with this program with them. We have been running it for the last year, and really the rationale behind this project is really quite simple. The project's overall impact goal is to sustainably improve equitable access to safe and affordable water, sanitation and hygiene products, and service for underserved communities living in Ghana, Nigeria, Cameroon, Tanzania, and South Africa. So how do we achieve this? We support the business growth of 50 female entrepreneurs in the target countries with high growth potential businesses in any of the sectors, and positioning them to scale their impact and reach served communities by the end of the sustainability of this. Rather interesting is that we have found for WASH initiatives, a lot of it has to do with charitable actions, which of course will have an impact, but how sustainable is that impact over the long run? How, once the funding is finished, what is going to happen to this initiative? Through entrepreneurship and through job creation, we are able to create a wheel which then never stops turning, in a sense. And this is where we are. We are very proud of this program, is that it has started, I think, early last year, and we are already seeing some jobs being created by the entrepreneurs. Some people having been recruited, some funds having been raised in order to help these women achieve their innovation-based projects. Globally, there's about 2 billion people who still do not have access to water, sanitation services, and the situation is even more ever present in developing regions like West Africa, where about 1 in 7 girls actually miss school due to lack of affordable hygienic products during their monthly menstruation, which is really sad. And this is why the Grundfos Foundation has decided to tackle this specific issue through the incubation program, which we have run. So the specific outputs of this program are very simple. First is to support the business development and growth of 50 female-led business startups tackling the challenges of WASH in the target countries. The second one is to increase by 25% the access to funding opportunities for the selected female entrepreneurs. And the last one is to increase the job creation capacity of each supported business. And we have estimated that the alumni of the program will create a total of about 120 jobs within 3 years. So all these impact metrics are we track, and that we like to take a look at over the long run, even after the program is closed, to make sure that, you know, which impact has this program had on the ecosystem we were trying to target. And so yes, this is pretty much it. We have also, we like to run a hybrid approach, kind of, where yes, the program is 100% online for ease of accessibility for the entrepreneurs, but we also like to create networking events. So what we do is we usually have a closing ceremony where all the entrepreneurs are able to gather together with the mentors who have accompanied them throughout the program, with the reps of Bridge for Billions who have also been involved since the beginning of the program managers from the business development side, partnership side, which I am on. And what we like to do is we like to move around a bit the entrepreneurship ecosystem and to invite all the actors that could be relevant. I'm going to give you a quick example, but we closed a program in the south of Senegal in the month of June, for example, and all the entrepreneurs had received their diplomas, and you know they were ready to take the next step, which was financing. And during the closing ceremony, they were able to network with. We had some representatives from USAID. We had some representatives from HfHE, the French Development Agency, from the British Embassy, if I'm not mistaken, as well, and even from the government of Senegal, who is very interested in entrepreneurship, and thus was very interested in meeting these people who had gone through the program for 9 months. And this is just the final, let's say, the cherry on top of the initiative, and we love to see the results a few months afterwards, what has happened and how has the ecosystem evolved after these entrepreneurs were able to go through the program. So I think I have said most of what I wanted to chat to you about. Too much over time, Hadeer?
Yeah, this is perfectly. This is the perfect ending actually for the session, because it is very promising what you are doing, and the idea of the accessibility of it online, and the idea of incubation, encouraging entrepreneur is very new and very interesting to do it all over the world, not only in the Mina region. So thank you again for this examples. And I'm afraid that that's it for our session today. Thank you all for your presentations, and I was very happy to join you today, and because we need to finish the session, and if any one of the attendees had any question, they can put it on Woover on the platform, and they can access you easily. So thank you again, and it was happy to meet you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Hadeer. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Hadeer.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.